What is up, all you individuals out there? It is me, full-time anime man, and give me 1 second. Alright, so, as you can see here, this is indeed part 2 of What If Deku Had Maleficent. And he begins to cry while sobbing, saying, "No, no, it can't be true. This can't be happening." Diaval, with tears in his eyes, then hugs Izuku, saying, "I'm sorry, Izuku, but it's true. I saw what happened, and I know you're sad right now. So I'm going to leave you for a while. When you're ready, you can come find me and I'll be waiting." Diaval leaves the room while Izuku crawls back into bed, continuously crying. A few hours go by, the sun has risen, and Izuku looks out the window and sees the sunlight shining around the mountains. Izuku is ready to leave the room and enters the hallway and makes his way down, taking in the scenery. He comes across a suit of armor, the type from the medieval centuries, and a beautiful diamond chandelier. It was really big. It was a really big place, but Izuku wanted to explore more of it. Izuku came across a room filled with weapons and a map of the land. He spotted an arrow saying, "You are here." The map pointed to a cliff of an ocean. The map pointed to a cliff near the ocean. Izuku looks closer at the map and memorizes it. After that was done, Izuku went to another room. This place had many strange things, but it was well organized. Izuku saw broomsticks mounted on the wall in 4 rows, a giant statue of a minotaur, and a table with a bunch of test tubes with liquid glowing through them. But the thing that stood out most about this room was a large mirror, and something about this mirror drew Izuku to it. As Izuku gets closer, Diavol's voice can be heard. It's a very special mirror. A young Izuku was quickly turned around with a jolt and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just looking around." Diavol walks over to Izuku and kneels to get on his level and says, "It's okay. All of this is yours after all." Izuku looks around and says, "It is?" Diavol smiles and nods his head, saying yes. "Here, let me show you why this mirror is so special." They both walk over to the mirror together, and Diavol explains, "This mirror can do many things. It can show you any person in the world just by saying their names. In fact, I used this mirror when I watched you. Sorry about that. And it can open portals anywhere." Izuku looks at Diavol and asks, "Can I use it?" "Sure," said Diavol. "Just touch it and think of what you want to see." Izuku looks into the mirror with his reflection of him and Diavol. He then places a hand on the mirror and it went black, and in 3 seconds the mirror then showed Izuku's home, but it was dark and empty. Izuku looked topic, and then a few hours later, Izuku understands the concept of his plant manipulation ability. Understands the concept of his plant manipulation abilities, and he asks Diaval if they could leave the castle to try out. I'm so dumb. Diaval thinks for a moment and says, okay, but it's probably best if we stay close. A few minutes later, Izuku and Diaval are outside of the castle, and it is very sunny outside with a cool breeze of wind. The first thing that Izuku sees are a bunch of trees and a stream of water. They walk a few feet away of the castle. Izuku and Diaval come across a small tree. Diaval says, I think this is going to be a good start. Go ahead, give it a try. Izuku says, okay. He then takes a deep breath and raises both of his hands to the air towards the tree. Izuku's hands radiate a green light, and the tree slowly begins to move and grow. Diaval smiles and says, good job, Izuku. You've already learned so fast. Everything looks okay until Izuku accidentally manipulates another tree out from its roots. It was big, and it was slowly being pulled from the ground. Diaval gives Izuku a pat on the back, and they both walk back to the castle, but Diaval stops because he heard a snapping noise behind them. The tree then falls, nearly landing on Diaval, but Izuku pushes Diaval out of the way, and the tree falls on Izuku. Diaval's eyes widen and looks to where the tree landed, begging for Izuku to be okay. But when the smoke clears, the tree did indeed fall on Izuku, but he's holding the tree up over his head with his superhuman strength. Diaval is amazed by Izuku's strength. Izuku puts the tree down and says, wow, I'm so strong. Diaval then walks up to Izuku and says, you saved my life. Thank you. A few minutes later, Izuku and Diaval are back at the castle. Izuku looks down at his hands. He still can't believe that big tree landed on him and he managed to lift it. In the middle of thinking, he is interrupted by Diaval saying, Izuku, there is one more thing I have to show you. They both walk back to Izuku's room, and Diaval pulls a lever, and a secret door opens up from the wall. They walk inside, and standing in front of them is a giant glass box in front of a window with the sun's light glistering through it. Diaval speaks. These wings were once my mistresses, and soon they will be yours. Izuku walks up to the box with the wings and touches it, saying, you mean I'll be able to fly someday? Yes, says Diaval. Once you are ready, they will come to you. It just takes time for you to properly control your powers. Izuku looks to the glass box and says, I'll do it. Diaval smiles time before we start. I understand. Izuku says, no. We start training today. I need to become the next #1 hero. The staff shines brighter of a green light, and a look of determination is on Izuku's face. We then skip 10 years into the future, and Izuku is 14 years old. Izuku is sitting there in the middle of the woods, meditating. The sun is shining. The wind blows, brushing his hair. All of a sudden, he hears a branch snap. He remains still until 3 giant griffins lunge themselves at him. Izuku keeps his eyes closed and smiles as the griffins were grabbed by tree branches, catching them, tying them by their legs. Izuku gets up and says, "You guys are either getting really slow or I'm just getting really fast for you." Izuku snaps his fingers as the trees let go of the griffins. One of the griffins then speaks up saying, "True, we'll be sure to work on that. But for now, you need a lift back to the castle?" "No, I prefer to run." "Goodbye now." The griffins then fly away, and Izuku runs back to the castle. Izuku is welcomed by Diaval. "Welcome back, Izuku. How was your training?" I think it was good, but I'm starting to think that the griffins are getting a little slow for me." Diaval then says, "Either that or you're just getting too fast." Izuku and Diaval make their way down the hall. Izuku speaks to Diaval. "I think it's about time I go register for the UA entrance exams." "Well, you're certainly at the right age. It is about time. Have you been keeping up with your studies?" "Yes, I have. And I need to say, we need more books." Izuku enters the room with the magic mirror and says, "Well, after being away for a long time, I wonder if things have changed." Diaval speaks up. "Well, there's only one way to find out." Izuku opens the portal to the UA entrance. "Well, here I go." Izuku walks through and he appears at the UA entrance of the UA premises. Izuku makes his way inside of the building. Izuku walks into the office and asks the secretary where could he apply for the UA entrance exams. The secretary has a troubled look on her face and says, "I'm sorry, but the entrance exams have already started today. The orientation is right now." Izuku has a confused look on his face. Izuku then says, "Oh, okay. Sorry to bother you. I'll apply next year. Have a nice day," said Izuku. As he is about to leave, he is stopped by what appears to be a sort of mouse figure. "Hold on. Let me get a good look at you." Izuku turns to face him, this sort of mouse figure, and he says, "Ah, I see. I'll make an exception for you and let you in." Izuku speaks up saying, "Oh, thank you. Are you like the principal?" "Yes, I am. Nezu, you can call me. And I must ask, what is your quirk?" Izuku speaks up and says, "I don't have one." Principal Nezu then gasps and says, "So, how do you plan on getting in?" Izuku stands there smiling and says, "You're going to have to wait and see. But for now, enjoy the show." Principal Nezu then asks, "So, what's your name?" "My name is Izuku Midoriya." Izuku makes his way to the orientation. As he walks out, Principal Nezu scratches the back of his head, saying, "Why does it feel like I know that name before?" We cut to President Mike. Izuku enters while President Mike is telling future students how to rack up points by destroying robots. When Izuku enters, a spiky-haired blonde kid is the first to see him, and he has this feeling inside of him that he knows Izuku from somewhere. But right now, he had to focus. A few minutes later, Izuku is at the training grounds of the mock entrance exam. Izuku is stretching, and the door opens. Everybody runs inside while Izuku walks. Izuku has no trouble finding a robot to destroy. By the way, he has his cane, by the way. Well, not his cane, his staff that was given to him by Diabol. Just need to verify that. And using his super strength, he punches the robot into a building, destroying it. He continues to walk, and he comes across another robot, but this time, he uses his controlling abilities to control the robot to do his fighting for him. The robot destroys 3 other robots before succumbing to its damages from fighting other robots. Ooh, I'm saying robots so many times. He continues to walk across the fake city and comes across another robot, but this time he uses his telekinesis on this robot and makes the robot float. It makes the robots float up and down until they are destroyed. Some time goes by and Izuku continues to walk around until the ground starts to violently shake. The zero-pointer robot arrives and everyone runs away except for Izuku. Slowly watches the robot approaches. His thinking is interrupted by a cry for help. Izuku then runs towards a girl and asks if she's okay.
I think my leg is broken.
The robot gets closer and Izuku uses his greatest move. He raises both of his hands into the air as they emit a green light and plants both of his hands down to the ground. As the light then begins to fade away, the ground then begins to shake even more rapidly than when the zero-pointer was coming. And then all of a sudden, a tree with that of a figure of a giant snake pops from the ground right behind the zero-pointer, and it begins to tear the zero-pointer apart. And in 5 seconds, the robot is destroyed. Izuku turns to the girl and gets the rubble off of her. He then looks at her leg and sees that it is twisted. And so, Izuku then hovers both of his hands over the leg of the girl, and a big green circular light appears around them both. Izuku's hands glow green, and the girl's leg begins to heal as the light disappears around them. Izuku reaches out to the girl to help her up. She takes his hand and then gets up and says, "Thank you." Izuku says, "No problem," and walks away. Izuku is at the UA exit premise, about to exit the premises, until he is stopped by Principal Nezu. "Hey, Izuku, I saw what you did back there. Are you sure this isn't a quirk?" Izuku continues to smile and says, "I promise you, it's not a quirk. Now, I'll see you when school starts. Goodbye." As Izuku walks, a portal opens in front of him, and he walks through it back to the moors. Now, I don't know why, but this one just took me some time to do. But I'm glad I could follow through on my word and get it done. So, I hope that all you individuals enjoy this video, and if you have made it to the end of this video, consider yourselves #blessed. Oh man, I almost forgot my own catchphrase there. Anyway, I hope you all have a nice day, and I'll